The stars above Kalara Prime had always been peaceful. For 15 years, the colony had grown quietly on this green world at the edge of human space. 12,000 people lived there. They were scientists, farmers, teachers, and children. They had come to build a new life, far from the crowded cities of Earth. They believed they were safe. They were wrong. The Valak Dominion arrived without warning. 300 warships dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation, blocking out the stars like a dark curtain. The Velek were conquerors. They had crushed 40 star systems under their rule. They had never lost a war. They did not know the meaning of mercy. Grand Admiral Torak stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Blade. He was tall and broad, with gray skin and 4 arms that he kept folded behind his back. His yellow eyes watched the small planet below with cold interest. To him, this was not a battle. It was a harvest. Send the message, he ordered. His communications officer obeyed. Across every frequency, in every language the Velek knew, the ultimatum went out. Surrender the colony. Give us your people, your resources, your world. You have 6 hours. After that, we will take what we want by force. There will be no survivors. On the surface of Kalara Prime, panic spread like fire. Governor Minji tried to keep order, but what could she do? The colony had no weapons, no warships, only a small security force with handheld guns that would be useless against orbital bombardment. She gathered her people in the central shelter and told them to pray. But prayers alone would not save them. 8 light years away, Captain Yuna sat in the command chair of the patrol cruiser Dauntless. She was young for a captain, only 34, but she had earned her rank through skill and courage. Her ship was fast and well-armed, designed for hunting pirates and escorting cargo vessels. It was not designed for war. The distress signal reached her at 0347 hours ship time. She read it twice, hoping she had made a mistake. She had not. Get me command, she said to her communications officer. Priority 1. Emergency channel. The face that appeared on her screen belonged to Admiral Pack, a tired old man who had seen too many wars. He listened as Yuna explained the situation. His expression did not change, but she could see the weight settle on his shoulders. The nearest battle group is 9 days away, he said. We cannot reach Kalara Prime in time. Then send someone closer, Yuna demanded. Anyone. A single ship is better than nothing. Admiral Pack was quiet for a long moment. Then he pulled up a file and sent it to her screen. It showed an old heavy cruiser with a scarred hull and faded markings. The HS Baekdu. This is the only ship within range, he said. She is scheduled for decommissioning next month. Her crew is a skeleton force of 42. Her commander is a man named Taeho. Yuna knew the name. Everyone in the fleet knew the name. Commander Taeho was a legend. He had served for 30 years. He had fought in 2 wars and survived 32 engagements. He had been offered promotion to admiral 3 times, and 3 times he had refused. He wanted to stay on his ship. He wanted to stay with his crew. The Baekdu was his home, and he would not leave her. He is asking to go, Admiral Pack continued. He knows the odds. He knows he will probably die. He is asking anyway. Yuna closed her eyes. 42 people against 300 warships. It was not a battle. It was a sacrifice. Send him, she said. And send the battle group at maximum speed. Maybe they can arrive in time to save whoever is left. She did not believe her own words. Neither did Admiral Pack, but they had no other choice. On the Baekdu, Commander Taeho gathered his crew in the main hall. It was a small space, worn by decades of use. The walls were covered with photographs and medals and memories. This ship had history. This ship had heart. Taeho was 56 years old. His hair was gray, and his face was lined with scars from battles long past. But his eyes were still sharp, and his voice was still strong. "You all know why I called you," he said. "You have seen the reports. Kalara Prime is under siege. 12,000 people are going to die unless someone helps them. We are the only ship close enough to respond." He paused and looked at each of them in turn. Chief Engineer Dong-Su, who had kept the Baekdu running for 20 years through skill and stubbornness. Weapons Officer Hana, who could hit a target at 10,000 kilometers with her eyes closed. Navigator Bora, who knew every trick for flying through danger. Medic Subin, who had saved more lives than she could count. And 40 others, each one a volunteer, each one family. "I will not order you to come with me," Teho continued. "This is not a mission. This is a choice. If we go, we will probably not come back. The enemy has 300 ships. We have one. The math is simple. The odds are impossible." He took a deep breath. "But those people on Kalara Prime trusted us. They trusted humanity. They believed that when they called for help, someone would answer. I intend to answer. If any of you wish to leave, I will arrange transport. There will be no shame, no punishment. You have my word." No one moved. No one spoke. They simply stood there, looking at their commander with steady eyes. Finally, Dong-Su stepped forward. He was a big man with oil-stained hands and a crooked smile. "Commander," he said, "I have spent 20 years keeping this old ship alive. I did not do all that work just to let her die in a scrapyard. If she's going to fall, she will fall fighting. And I will be right here, making sure her engines burn until the very end." Hannah nodded. "My guns are ready. Let them come." Bo cracked her knuckles. "I know a few tricks they have never seen." One by one, every member of the crew spoke. Every one of them chose to stay. Every one of them chose to fight. Teho felt something warm in his chest. Pride, love, gratitude. He had served with many crews over the years, but none like this one. None so brave. None so loyal. "Then let us go," he said. "Let us show the galaxy what one human ship can do." The Baekdu turned toward Kalara Prime and jumped into hyperspace. Behind her, the stars watched in silence. 6 hours remained. The Velic fleet held position above Kalara Prime like wolves circling a wounded deer. 300 ships. Battleships with guns that could crack a planet. Cruisers fast enough to chase down any escape. Fighters by the thousands, swarming between the larger vessels like angry insects. It was the greatest display of military power the sector had ever seen. Grand. Admiral Torak watched the countdown on his screen. 2 hours remained until the deadline. He expected no resistance. Human colonies were soft targets. They had scientists and farmers, not soldiers. They would surrender, as all the others had surrendered. And if they did not, his fleet would burn their world to ash and move on to the next. He was already thinking about dinner when his sensor officer made a strange sound. "Admiral," the officer said, "we are detecting a hyperspace signature." Torak raised one eyebrow. "Reinforcements? How many ships?" The officer checked his readings. Then he checked them again. His 4 hands moved across the controls with growing confusion. "One ship, Admiral." "Just one." Torak turned slowly. "One?" "Yes, Admiral." "A human vessel. Heavy cruiser class. Old design. It is dropping out of hyperspace now." The main screen flickered, and there it was. The HSS Baekdu emerged from the blue light of hyperspace like a ghost from another age. She was not beautiful. Her hull was covered with patches and scars from decades of service. Her design was 40 years out of date. Compared to the sleek Velic warships around her, she looked like a relic from a museum, For a long moment, the bridge of the Eternal Blade was silent. Then someone laughed odd. It started as a small sound, a chuckle from one of the junior officers. Then it spread. Soon the entire bridge was filled with laughter. Even the senior commanders could not hold back their amusement. One ship? One old, battered ship against the mightiest fleet in the quadrant. It was absurd. It was insulting. It was the funniest thing they had seen in years. Torak did not laugh. He watched the human ship with narrowed eyes. Something about this bothered him. Something he could not name. "Open a channel," he ordered. The laughter stopped. The communications officer obeyed. Torak leaned forward and spoke into the microphone. His voice was calm and cold, like ice sliding over stone. "Human vessel. This is Grand Admiral Torak of the Velic Dominion. You are outnumbered 300 to 1. Your weapons cannot scratch our shields. Your speed cannot escape our fighters. You have no chance of victory. Turn around now, and I will grant you the mercy of survival. Stay, and you will die. The choice is yours." He sat back and waited for the response. He expected begging. He expected fear. He expected the humans to run like all the others had run. He did not expect what came next. The screen flickered, and Commander Tejo appeared. He was standing on his bridge, surrounded by his small crew. His uniform was old but clean. His posture was straight. His eyes held no fear. "Admiral Torak," he said, "I am Commander Tejo of the HFY Story. I have received your message. I have considered your offer, and I must respectfully decline." Torak blinked. This was not the response he had anticipated. "You decline?" He repeated. "Human, do you understand your situation? You are one ship. I have 300. Your death is certain." Tejo nodded slowly. "Yes, Admiral. I understand the math. I understand the odds. But you see, there is something you do not understand about humans." He stepped closer to the screen. Behind him, his crew stood at their stations with quiet determination. Dongsu at engineering, Hannah at weapons, Baara at navigation, Subin at medical. All of them ready. All of them unafraid. "Behind me," Tejo continued, "is a colony of 12,000 innocent people. Scientists, farmers, children. They came to this world seeking peace. They trusted humanity to protect them. They believed that when danger came, we would not abandon them. I will not make them wrong." Torak felt something cold creep down his spine. He had conquered 40 star systems. He had faced enemies of every kind. But he had never heard anyone speak like this. "You will die," he said. "You and your entire crew. For what? For strangers you have never met?" Tejo smiled. It was a small smile, sad and proud at the same time. "Admiral, every person on that planet is not a stranger to me. They are human. They are my people. And as long as I draw breath, I will stand between them and anyone who wishes them harm." He straightened his shoulders. "You may destroy my ship. You may kill my crew. But I promise you this. You will remember this day. You will remember that when your great fleet came to slaughter innocents, one human ship stood against you. One crew refused to run. And when you tell this story to your children and your children's children, you will have to explain why 300 warships needed to destroy a single old cruiser to claim their victory." The bridge of the Eternal Blade had gone completely silent. No one was laughing now. "And know this," Tejo added. "Earth's Armada is coming. 9 days away, but coming. When they arrive, they will find either survivors or ashes. If they find ashes, they will not stop until they have burned your entire empire to the ground. That is not a threat, Admiral. That is a promise. That is what humans do when you hurt our people." He reached for the communications panel. So come, Admiral. Bring your 300 ships. Show the galaxy what the mighty Velic Dominion can do against 42 humans who refuse to run. We will be waiting. The screen went dark. Tarek sat in his chair, staring at the blank display. Around him, his officers shifted nervously. The mood had changed. The laughter was gone, replaced by something else. Something that felt almost like uncertainty. Admiral? His first officer asked. Your orders? Torak was quiet for a long moment. Then he stood, his forearms unfolding from behind his back. All ships, he said. Battle formation. Destroy that vessel, now. The Velic fleet began to move. 300 ships turned their weapons toward one. The greatest display of military power in the sector, prepared to crush a single old cruiser with a crew of 40-2 on the bridge of the Baekdu. Tejo watched them come. He felt no fear. Only a strange kind of peace. All hands, he said. Battle stations. Let us show them what we are made of. Dongsu fed power to the engines. Hannah armed the weapons. The Aura plotted the first maneuver, and the battle began. The first shots lit up the darkness of space like lightning in a storm. 100 Velic ships fired at once, sending beams of burning energy toward the small human cruiser. Any normal captain would have tried to run. Any normal ship would have tried to escape. Commander Taiho was not a normal captain, and the Baekdu was not a normal ship. Bara, he said calmly. Take us in. The navigator's hands flew across her controls. Aye, Commander. Taking us in. The Baekdu did not run. She did not retreat. Instead, she accelerated directly toward the enemy fleet. Her old engines roared with power as she dove straight into the wall of fire. The Velic gunners could not believe what they were seeing. Their targeting systems had been designed to hit ships that ran away. Ships that tried to increase distance. Ships that behaved like prey. This human vessel was doing the opposite. It was getting closer. The first volley missed. The second volley missed. By the time the gunners adjusted, the Baekdu was already among them. On the bridge of the Eternal Blade, Grand Admiral Torak watched with growing disbelief. The human ship was weaving between his vessels like a fish swimming through coral. His own ships could not fire without risking hits on each other. The tight formation that should have been their greatest strength had become a trap. What is he doing? Torak demanded. This is madness. But it was not madness. It was genius. Tejo had studied warfare for 30 years. He knew that large fleets relied on coordination. They relied on clear lines of fire. They relied on enemies who fought by the rules. He had no intention of fighting by the rules. Hannah, he called out, target their engines and weapons. Disable, not destroy. I want them confused, not dead. Hannah grinned. Understood, Commander. Precision fire commencing. Her fingers danced across the weapons console. The Baekdu's guns were old, but they were accurate. Each shot found its mark. A Velic destroyer lost its main engine and spun out of control, crashing into a cruiser beside it. A battleship's forward weapons exploded, sending shrapnel into 2 nearby frigates. A carrier's launch bay took a direct hit, trapping its fighters inside that the Velic fleet began to panic. Ships tried to move out of each other's way and collided instead. Gunners fired wildly and hit their own allies. Captains screamed orders that contradicted each other. The perfect formation dissolved into chaos within minutes. Dongsu worked miracles in engineering. The Baekdu was taking hits. Energy beings scorched her hull. Missiles struck her shields. But Dongsu kept her alive. He rerouted power from every non-essential system. He cycled the shield frequencies faster than the enemy could track. He pushed the old engines harder than they had ever been pushed before. Shield Generator 4 is failing. A technician shouted. Then take power from the mess hall, Dongsu ordered. We can eat later. Right now, we fight. Baora navigated through the madness with impossible skill. She had been flying ships since she was 16 years old. She knew the Baekdu like she knew her own body. Every turn, every roll, every desperate maneuver. She could feel when the ship was reaching her limits, and she pushed just a little bit further. Hard starboard, Taeho commanded. Baora obeyed. The Baekdu rolled right, slipping between two Velic battleships with meters to spare. The battleships fired at where she had been and hit each other instead. Both vessels lost their shields and began venting atmosphere. 2 hours passed. Then 3. The Baekdu kept moving, kept fighting, kept surviving. On the surface of Kalar Prime, Governor Minji watched the battle through the colony's telescope. She had never seen anything like it. One ship dancing through a storm of fire. One crew refusing to give up. Tears ran down her face, and she did not know if they were from fear or hope. Who are they? Someone asked beside her. Heroes, she whispered. They are heroes. In the Velic fleet, confusion had turned to frustration, and frustration had turned to fear. They had expected an easy victory. They had expected to crush the humans in minutes. Instead, they were losing ships. Not to the Baekdu's guns. The human vessel had destroyed only 3 ships directly. But collisions, friendly fire, and accidents had claimed 23 more. 26 ships lost. To one enemy, Torak slammed his fist against his chair. This was impossible. This was humiliating. His ancestors would curse his name if he let this continue. All ships fall back, he ordered. Create distance. Reform the line. The Velic fleet began to separate, spreading out to create clear firing lanes. Torak was finally thinking clearly. He would not let the human ship hide among his vessels. He would create a wall of fire that nothing could pass through. On the Baekdu, Taeho saw the enemy changing tactics. He had known this moment would come. The chaos could not last forever. Eventually, the Velic would adapt. Eventually, they would learn. Commander, Baora reported, they are spreading out. We will not be able to use their ships as cover anymore. Taeho nodded. Then we changed tactics as well. Dongsu, how are the engines? Holding, the engineer replied, but barely. We have maybe 2 more hours of hard maneuvering before something critical fails. And the shields? 30% and falling. We cannot take many more direct hits. Taeho looked at the tactical display. The Velic fleet was forming a half circle around them, cutting off escape routes. Soon they would have nowhere to hide, but they had bought time. 3 hours of time. 3 hours for the colony to prepare. 3 hours for the battle group to get closer. 3 hours that no one had expected them to survive. Hannah, Taeho said, what is our ammunition status? Forward batteries at 60%. Missiles at 40%. Point defense at full. Good. He straightened in his chair. We will continue. As long as we can move, we fight. As long as we can shoot, we shoot. We are not done yet. His crew responded with determination. They were tired. They were wounded. But they were not broken. The Baekdu turned to face the reforming Velic line. Her scarred hull gleamed in the light of distant stars. Her engines hummed with defiance. She was old. She was outnumbered. She was outgunned. But she was still standing. And somewhere, 9 days away, but getting closer with every passing minute, the Earth's 7th Battle Group was pushing their engines beyond all safe limits. Admiral Kyung-ho had heard what his old friend Taeho was attempting. He had ordered maximum speed, regardless of the cost. Burn the engines if you have to, he told his chief engineer. We will arrive in time. We must. The battle was far from over. The Baekdu was dying. 4 hours into the battle, the damage could no longer be ignored. Fires burned on 3 decks. Smoke filled the corridors. The lights flickered and dimmed as power systems failed one by one. Of the 42 crew members who had started this fight, 8 were dead and 15 were wounded. The rest kept fighting. Medic Subin moved through the wounded, treating injuries with steady hands. Her own ribs were broken from when a console had exploded beside her. Every breath was agony. But she did not stop. She could not stop. Her crew needed her. "Hold still," she told a young engineer whose arm was badly burned. "This will hurt, but you will keep the arm." The engineer nodded. "Thank you, Doctor. Thank me when we survive this." On the bridge, Commander Taiho studied the tactical display with tired eyes. The Velic fleet had reformed into a firing line. 40 ships at the front, their weapons charged and ready. Behind them, the rest of the fleet waited like vultures. There was nowhere to run. Nowhere to hide. "Shields?" he asked. "Gone," Dongsu replied from engineering. His voice came through speakers that crackled with static. "I have nothing left to give them. Engines? 1 more burn. Maybe 2 if we are lucky. After that, we are drifting." Taiho nodded slowly. He had known this moment would come. He had hoped it would come later, but War never listened to hopes. Grand Admiral Torak's voice came through the communications channel. He sounded tired too. The arrogance from before was gone, replaced by something that might have been respect. "Commander Taiho," he said, "you have fought well, better than any enemy I have ever faced. But this is the end. Your shields are gone. Your weapons are nearly empty. You cannot win. Surrender now, and I will spare your crew. You have my word." Taiho considered the offer. For a moment, just a brief moment, he thought about accepting. His crew had given everything. They had held for 4 hours against impossible odds. No one could ask more of them. But then he looked at the planet below. Kalara Prime. 12,000 people waiting to learn their fate. 12,000 people who trusted humanity to protect them. He could not surrender. He would not. "Admiral," he said, "I appreciate the offer, but I must decline." Again. Torak sighed. "Then you will die. Perhaps, but not quietly." Taiho closed the channel and turned to his crew. They looked back at him with eyes that showed exhaustion but no fear. These were the finest people he had ever served with. He loved them like family. "I will not lie to you," he said. "Our situation is bad. We have no shields. 1 engine burn. Half our weapons. The enemy has 40 fresh ships in their firing line, with 200 more behind them." He paused. "But we are still here. We are still fighting. And we still have one option left." He pulled up a schematic of the Baekdu on the main screen. The ship had been built 40 years ago, in an era when ramming was still considered a viable tactic. Her prow was reinforced with 3 meters of solid armor. It was an obsolete feature, useless against modern energy shields, but the Velic flagship had taken damage during the battle. Her forward shields were weakened. Her position was at the center of the firing line, vulnerable. "If we can reach the Eternal Blade," Taiho explained, "if we can hit her at full speed, we can take out their command ship. Without Torak, their fleet will lose coordination. They will have to retreat and regroup. That will give Kalara Prime more time. Maybe enough time for the battle group to arrive." The bridge was silent for a long moment. Then Dongsu's voice came through the speaker. "Commander, I can give you 1 good engine burn. Full power. No holding back. It will probably destroy the drive core, but it will get you there." Baora nodded. "I can plot a course. Straight through their line. They will not expect us to charge." Hannah checked her weapons console. Forward batteries are still operational. I can clear a path. One by one, every crew member on the bridge spoke their agreement. No one argued. No one hesitated. They understood what this meant. They accepted it. Taeho felt tears forming in his eyes. He blinked them away. "Thank you," he said. "All of you. It has been the greatest honor of my life to serve with you." He sat in his command chair and gripped the armrests. "All hands, this is the commander. Prepare for final assault. We are going to ram the enemy flagship. Those who wish to reach the escape pods, you have 2 minutes. There will be no shame in it." He waited. No one left their station. "Very well. Boara, set course for the Eternal Blade. Dong-Su, give me everything you have. Hannah, fire at will." The Baekdu surged forward on the Velik firing line. Gunners watched with disbelief as the human ship accelerated toward them. Not away. Toward. This was suicide. This was madness. This was impossible. Hana fired the forward batteries with deadly precision. The first Velik ship in their path lost its main cannon. The second lost its engine. The third simply exploded as a lucky shot found its ammunition storage. But the Baekdu was taking hits too. Energy beams tore through her hull. Missiles struck her engine housing. The ship screamed with the sound of tearing metal. On the bridge, consoles exploded. Crew members fell. Boara kept her hands on the controls, steering through the chaos with blood running down her face from a cut on her forehead. 30 seconds to impact. She shouted, "Maintain course." Taeho ordered. The Eternal Blade loomed ahead of them, growing larger with every moment. Grand Admiral Torak finally understood what was happening. His yellow eyes went wide with horror. "All ships, destroy that vessel," he screamed. "Destroy it now." But it was too late. The Baekdu was too close. The Velik ships could not fire without hitting their own flagship. 10 seconds. Taeho closed his eyes. He thought of his mother, who had died believing he would make her proud. He thought of his father, who had taught him that courage was not the absence of fear, but the choice to act despite it. He thought of all the good people he had known over the years, and all the good things they had done together. 5 seconds. He opened his eyes. "For Kalara," he whispered Don. The Baekdu struck the Eternal Blade at full speed. The reinforced prow punched through the weakened shields like a spear through paper. It tore through the outer hull, through the inner hull, through 3 decks of the massive flagship before finally stopping, lodged in the heart of the enemy vessel like a dagger. Explosions cascaded through both ships. The Eternal Blade's power core destabilized. Her lights went dark. Her weapons went silent. On what remained of the Baekdu's bridge, Commander Taeho lay amid the wreckage. His body was broken. His ship was destroyed. But through the cracked viewport, he could see the Velik fleet beginning to scatter. He had done it. They had done it. With his last strength, he smiled. Then everything went dark. The wreckage of 2 ships drifted together in the cold silence of space. The Baekdu and the Eternal Blade were locked in a final embrace, their hulls fused by the violence of impact. Fires burned in both vessels. Debris floated through the vacuum like fallen leaves. On the Velik fleet, chaos reigned. The flagship was dark. Grand Admiral Torak was missing. Communications were down. No one knew who was in command. Captains argued with each other over emergency channels. Some wanted to continue the attack. Others wanted to retreat. Most did not know what to do at all. Without leadership, the greatest fleet in the quadrant had become a confused mob. On the surface of Kalara Prime, Governor Menji watched the sky with trembling hope. The bombardment had not come. The colony was still standing. Something had changed up there. Something had saved them. She did not know yet what that something was. Hours passed. The Velic fleet drifted in confusion, unable to decide their next move. Some ships began withdrawing to a safe distance. Others stayed, waiting for orders that never came. Then, without warning, hyperspace lit up with light. 32 signatures. Then 40. Then 60. Ships dropped out of hyperspace in rapid succession, their hulls gleaming with the colors of Earth. Battleships, cruisers, carriers, destroyers. The 7th Battle Group had arrived. Admiral Kyung-ho stood on the bridge of his flagship, the HFY. He was a tall man with gray hair and kind eyes that had seen too much death. He had pushed his fleet beyond all safe limits. 3 ships had suffered engine failures during the journey, but they had made it. They had arrived. Report, he ordered. His sensor officer scanned the area. Admiral, the Velic fleet is in disarray. Their flagship appears to be destroyed. I am detecting significant debris fields and multiple disabled vessels. They have taken heavy losses. Kyung-ho felt something tighten in his chest. And the bike do? Silence. Then, quietly, she is embedded in the enemy flagship, sir. Her hull is breached in multiple locations. Life signs are faint. Very faint. Kyung-ho closed his eyes. He had known Tae-ho for 30 years. They had served together as young lieutenants. They had fought side by side in the border wars. They had been friends. Launch rescue teams immediately, he ordered. I want every survivor found. Every single one. He opened a channel to the Velic fleet. This is Admiral Kyung-ho of the Earth Defense Fleet. Your flagship is destroyed. Your admiral is captured or dead. You are now facing 62 warships with full weapons and fresh crews. Surrender immediately, or we will finish what the Baekdu started. His voice was calm, but there was iron underneath it. Cold, unforgiving iron. You attacked a peaceful colony. You threatened innocent civilians. One of our ships stood against you for 4 hours. One ship, 42 people. They died to protect strangers they had never met. That is what humans do. That is who we are. He paused. Now you have a choice. Surrender, and you will be treated according to the laws of war. Fight, and I will destroy every ship in this system. There will be no mercy. There will be no prisoners. Choose. The Velic fleet surrendered within the hour. Rescue teams worked through the night. They cut through twisted metal and burning debris. They searched every corridor, every compartment, every room. The Baekdu had been torn apart by the impact, but she had protected her crew one last time. They found survivors. 20-3 of the 42 crew members had lived. Many were badly wounded. Some might never fully recover. But they were alive. Commander Tae-ho was found on his bridge, buried under a collapsed support beam. His heartbeat was weak. His injuries were severe. But he was breathing. When the medics brought him aboard the Hala, Kyung-ho was waiting. He took his old friend's hand and held it tight. You did it, he whispered. You crazy old man. You actually did it. Tae-ho's eyes fluttered open. He looked up at Kyung-ho and managed a small smile. Had to, he murmured. Someone had to. Then he fell unconscious again. The news spread across human space like wildfire. One ship against 300. 42 people against the mightiest fleet in the quadrant. A battle that should have lasted minutes had lasted 4 hours. A defeat that seemed certain had become a victory. The Velic Dominion signed a permanent peace treaty within the month. They withdrew from human space entirely. They released all prisoners. They paid reparations to every colony they had threatened. Years later, a Velic historian would write, "We came to Kalara Prime as conquerors. We left as believers. The humans taught us that courage is not measured by the size of your fleet, but by the strength of your heart. We will never forget that lesson." Commander Taiho recovered slowly. His injuries left him unable to return to active service. But he did not mind. He had given his life to the stars. Now he was content to rest. He retired to Kalara Prime, the colony he had saved. The people there welcomed him as a hero. They named their central plaza Taiho Square. They built a statue of the Baekdu overlooking the valley. Children learned his name in school. He lived in a small house on a hill outside the main settlement. He planted a garden there. Tomatoes, peppers, flowers that reminded him of Earth. Every morning, he would sit on his porch and watch the sunrise over the mountains. Sometimes, visitors would come. Former crew members, old friends, young officers who wanted to hear his story. He welcomed them all with tea and kind words. They would ask him questions. How did you find the courage? Were you afraid? Would you do it again? His answers were always the same. I was afraid. Of course, I was afraid. Only fools feel no fear. But fear is not the enemy. Fear is just a voice telling you that something matters. The question is not whether you feel afraid. The question is what you do next. He would look out at the mountains and smile. And would I do it again? Yes, without hesitation. Because protecting people who cannot protect themselves is the most important thing a human can do. It is what defines us. It is what makes us strong. The SS Baekdu was rebuilt, not as a fighting vessel, but as a living monument. Her hull was repaired. Her systems were restored. A new crew serves aboard her now. Young men and women who carry on her legacy. Every year, on the anniversary of the battle, ships from 12 different species gather above Kalara Prime. They hold a moment of silence for those who fell. Then they broadcast a single message across all frequencies. Remember the Baekdu. And across the galaxy, in ports and stations and ships of every kind, beings who once laughed at the idea of human courage lower their heads in respect. They remember. They will always remember. In his garden on Kalara Prime, an old man watches the stars come out. He thinks of friends lost and friends saved. He thinks of battles fought and peace won. He thinks of a tired old ship that refused to give up, and he is at peace. The end.